Hello, I'm Kazak, and this is a 5-minute guide to Frost Death Knight in the War Within pre-patch. We'll take a look at the talent changes coming with pre-patch, and I'll call out any big shifts from the spec we played in Dragonflight. So the lower part of the tree looks a lot different now, but the old archetypes are still there. Let's take a look at each and see what changed. Breath of Sindragosa builds and plays a lot like it did in Dragonflight, but your average breath will only last for about a third of what it did before. They did put a significant damage buff on it to compensate, but still expect to see Obliterate doing most of your damage in this build. Talents are all what you'd expect, but there's one big exception. With the nerf to Rage of the Frozen Champion and the removal of Hysteria, it's better to play Frigid Executioner now in raids. The changes to the resource economy keep you at lower runic power amounts on average during breath, and you will quickly hit a point where you need to ignore rhyme so you can squeeze in as many obliterates as you can to keep that breath going. However, in Mythic Plus, the added AoE output from the extra rhymes pushes Rage of the Frozen Champion back out in front. With Rune of Hysteria gone, we will use Rune of the Stone Skin Gargoyle on our offhands instead. Two-hand Obliteration feels the closest to its Dragonflight counterpart. In keys, it is much less reliant on Death and Decay, thanks to Arctic Assault, adding extra AoE damage with free glacial advances. And Cleaving Strikes now has a grace period where you get to keep the Obliterate cleaving when you step out of it. It lasts about 4 seconds. Beyond that, it's about the same spec. The priority list is pretty much the same. You will have fewer resources floating the rotation, so expect to hit Frost Strike or Glacial Advance more often to fish for Runic Empowerment procs. Additionally, Arctic Assault emphasizes getting out as many Killing Machine procs as you can, so we don't want to press Remorseless Winter during Pillar of Frost anymore. You might see some builds take Horn of Winter now, and it's just there to bail you out when you get unlucky with Runic Empowerment. You don't need to press it on cooldown. Dual-Wield Obliteration is back, though it's not as back as it could be during pre-patch because Fearlath gives two-hand an inherent advantage. But Shattering Blade got a massive buff, and Shattering Frost is a new capstone that makes your empowered Frost Strikes cleave. It contrasts two-hand builds by shifting some damage outside the pillar windows. You'll feel the most difference in Mythic Plus, where you lose some power from your D&D cleave, but now get to focus on consuming Razor Ice stacks from different targets. Right now, I recommend using Rune of Razor Ice everywhere. You can use Rune of Stone Skin Gargoyle in keys, but it's not clear right now if that's better. As for rotational shifts, you will ignore Rhyme to consume Razor Ice stacks, but still make Killing Machine your top priority. Arctic Assault adds enough extra damage to make Obliterate more damage for your global, and so we want to do everything we can to avoid wasting procs. Now, for some quick points that apply to all builds, in no particular order, Chill Streak is now a great way to spend your flex points. It has the perk from the Season 3 tier where it will bounce off you if it can't find a target, so now we can use it in single target everywhere. However, the bounce range is very short. If you're having issues with it fizzling out, pick up Frost Scythe or Cryogenic Chamber instead. Frost Scythe works entirely differently now. It always crits, and has a 30-second cooldown, and it's reduced each time you consume the Killing Machine proc. When you play Arctic Assault, be careful not to use Frost Scythe when you're low on runes and have a Killing Machine proc. Otherwise, you risk losing Killing Machine procs while you're Frost Striking to try to fish for that Runic Empowerment. All builds now love crit more than any other stat. Icy Death Torrent and the Long Winter give us even more benefits for getting crit autos on top of the already great benefit of Killing Machine, so we want as much crit as we can get our hands on. Finally, one more thing. If you want to participate in some pre-patch silliness, you can play Breath of Sindragosa and Obliteration at the same time. It's a goofy build, mainly enabled by Arctic Assault. If you want to play it, set up your talents like this and put Razor Ice on your main hand. The rotation is the normal breath rotation, but in between breaths, you play Pillar of Frost like you would for Obliteration. So if you want to try something kind of weird, untested, and out there, pre-patch is the best time to mess around with this build. The theory crafting I've done so far for hero talents indicates that this probably will not be something we will continue to play throughout the War Within. So get it in while you can. That wraps this video up. I hope this has been helpful, and I'll see you in the future for some more detailed guides for the War Within.